Welcome to another episode of The Table. I am your host today, against my will. But you did, huh?
You begged to be here.
I said I didn't want to host. You lot said I should host by force.
You have to. They have to see it.
Yeah, so he forced me here. Anyway, they forced me here, so I'm here. On the table today, from my far left, we have
Alex.
Batsy.
Hanson.
Aishivarano.
Today we will have a lovely show. We've got a very important topic, right? A very interesting one to discuss. So we'll be back right after this. So guys, here's the topic today. So do you think that church sisters, right, most times, not all the time, are not really interested in the spiritual, good Christian brother who is focused on the Lord, serving the Lord, doing...
You know what this sounds like? I'm a nice guy.
Why don't you like me?
Sorry, carry
Well,
on.
so we can say I didn't know interested in church nice guys. So the guy who is just, going for evangelism, just, always kabashing, focus on... Why are you laughing? Like, let me land.
I think
Allow me
it's
to
funny.
land.
Sorry, carry on.
Anyway, so do we think that is the situation? Obviously, not always, but generally speaking.
Why is it that just because he goes evangelizing, he prays, he does this in church, that I must like him? There's a personality side that I have to like about the guy.
Yeah, but the question is not like you must like him. It's like, generally, do we think that, generally speaking,
I think you
that
need to...
sisters are not gravitated towards that kind of person?
What I'm trying to say is not
And
that
why
they're
is
not
that?
gravitating to those kind of people, is that I won't say most, because that's not true. I'll say some brothers in the church,
Mm-hmm.
they are very spiritual, and it's like, praise God, this is a
Hallelujah.
man who's after the love of the Lord and everything.
Mm.
But then it's like, do you forget that you actually have to have a relationship with this woman? You actually have to have that personality.
Yeah, but for you to have a relationship, the first must be the attraction. It seems to me that most times the attraction is even there.
There's no personality. That's what I'm saying. Like, some guys lack that personality trait to say that, you want to get to know me. Like, of course, we're in church now. You know that, okay, he pays his tithe, he loves God, he evangelizes. That's cool. That is a very important thing to look for in a man, yes. But you also need to have that other side too, that is just like your actual character. Are you funny? Are you smart? Do you have interests outside of interests that, are you creative? Is there more to you than just
coming to church and
Yes.
praying?
I'm thinking, from what you're saying, that if the person is like spiritual, because from my experience in the past, I've seen that there are certain people, guys who they're burning for Christ, and then certain females will find that attractive, that fact that he's burning for Christ and burning for the things. So surely that's just a reflection of your desires or your motives then.
No,
Which
yeah,
you're
but
in the flow.
I'm attracted to a guy who's burning for Christ. If I see a man in church and he's out there doing, he's active in Christ, always at every meeting, always being involved, he worships with all his heart and everything, I'm like, wow, that is amazing. But when you get to have that conversation and there's nothing there, it's kind of like, there's nothing else other than that.
Could we take this from a different angle?
Yeah.
Right, so we are a spirit, we have a soul, we live in a body, right?
Brother, he's preaching the gospel.
So, so for some people, and people are attracted by different things. For some people, they'll be attracted more to the spiritual side of somebody. The fact that they pray all the time, they're always at church, always at the meetings, blah, blah, blah. Some people will be attracted to the soulish side of somebody. Their personality, their intellect, their will, the way they carry themselves, whatnot. Some people will be attracted to somebody because they just like the fact that they've got big thighs or they like their lips. No, different things for different folks. Different things attract
different folks,
yeah,
yes.
different things attract different people. So we can't really use the same brush for everybody to say, church girls aren't attracted to church boys, or who are. It depends on the individual, and everyone's got the thing that will attract them.
This is what I'm saying.
I've got. Sorry, before you say that, I'm sorry to cut you off. Hanson, because he's the only married person on the panel. You're married, yeah?
Hey.
He's got the band there. So, your wife, I hope you don't mind me asking this on TV. Did you find her in your church, or in church in general?
I didn't meet my wife in my church.
Okay.
And I didn't meet her in church.
Okay, but there were ladies in church, especially your church.
Yeah.
And how come I would assume, right, as a Christian, one of your biggest social groups, will be in church, a place where you meet people constantly, because you're there at least every Sunday. And if you're very committed, maybe twice or sometimes even more times in a week. So how come the people there, you didn't find someone there, and then it's outside that you found someone?
For me, it just so happened like that. You have to consider that how much time do we actually spend in church when we talk about the four walls.
Right.
You might be there for a couple of hours on a Sunday. You might come to midweek service.
Right.
If you're in a choir, you might come for rehearsal on Saturday.
Right.
The rest of the time, you're out there in the world.
Right.
You probably spend 8 hours at work. You go to the supermarket, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes the place where you spend the most time is probably where you might meet your spouse, and it's not necessarily in the church. There's another angle to this as well, which is some women do not necessarily want to date a guy who is in the same church as them. Sometimes because of, I'd say, political reasons, or the fact that, too close to home. People, people know your business.
Wait. But must you go into these situations thinking something will go left, or expecting things to go left, and too
you
close
shouldn't.
to home?
You shouldn't. But the reality is,
it's supposed to be
some women think like that, and they have concerns, and those concerns are genuine.
Is there not an error in the school of thought of such individuals?
There's an error in which people go about going into the relationships, because if you think, okay, I'm ready to get married, I'm ready to be with somebody, then the whole process from the moment you set your eyes on that person and say, that's who I want, and you both agree to committing to this, is faith. It has to work.
Okay.
It's intentional. It has to work. There's no way for it to fail. At this moment, if you two have come together and agreed, and you've got the blessing of your pastor, it has to work. So it doesn't matter if it's too close to home or anything. There's no way to fail.
That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I agree. It's to do with how people view this whole dating thing. That's another way to look at it.
He made a very important statement. He said, we are first a spirit being. So if a guy is fasting, winning souls, and that is his primary focus, if we have a conversation, what are we talking about?
With some guys, it's a case of they're very focused on this spiritual thing, with soul winning and everything. And it's great. You can have a conversation with them for hours about soul winning and preaching the gospel. And that is very stimulating. That is fantastic. But it's the point where you fail to connect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That, yeah.
There's a way to connect with person to person, like with your friends, Even if you're only about preaching the gospel and doing that stuff, there's a way in which you relate to each other that is not just spiritual. It's a connection of a friendship. But if some guys fail to do that with a woman, you fail to do that with a woman that you want to date or you want to get to know in that sense, and it's kind of like, okay, right now all I see is just your spirit. You don't connect with me from your personality, which is that thing about you that makes you different and special and unique. That's what a lot of guys, and I think it's to do with, you have to figure yourself out in your salvation. I found it in myself that at the very beginning, it's like you're very by the book. You're doing this, and the other. And then you start to learn salvation is very personal. It's about your relationship with God. It's about you and God relating and connecting. And then your personality starts to come in there, but you're twisting it with God, and it's intertwining, it's becoming beautiful. It's a divine thing. It becomes divine connection. And that needs to be communicated when you're in the relationship. But for a lot of guys, sometimes you're not ready to be doing that. That's why the spirit is all you see first before you become this divine person between spirit and your personality.
I've got a question. Okay, so, if we go into any conversation, whatever topic that we talk about, I will only bring out what I have interest in. And in bringing out what I have interest in, most times I'll bring out where my mind mainly is.
Yeah.
If I was a footballer and football was my life, if we talk, even if we're talking about something else, one way or the other, football will creep in because that's my life. Now, if I'm sold out to God on that scale, right? On that scale where this is my life, this is what I live for, regardless what conversation that we have, it will be very impossible for that. Do you get what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, for example, imagine a guy was in a gang, right? He lived a certain lifestyle. He now came to Christ, turned his whole life around. Right now, his affections are different. The things that, even the way life makes sense to him is different. His perspective on life is different. So if you were to engage in a conversation with him, the conversation will come from a certain place and it will come in a certain way.
Mm.
So if the guy is in that place in his life, like which other, do you get it? And like, for example, you want to see personality. That's his personality there.
We're, as human beings, we're relational beings. So we
Yeah.
need to relate with each other.
Yeah.
When a man and a woman are going to get married, it's about that relationship with each other.
That
The woman wants to
connection.
know that the man is interested in her.
Mhm.
Of course, she may want a God-fearing man.
Yes.
So there's that vertical relationship, but you also need that horizontal relationship with
That's
your
it.
spouse, and that comes through personality, conversations, going out and sharing the same things. Maybe they're not as spiritual as you. Maybe they might be into something else. They might introduce you into their world. So it's about that horizontal relationship and actually getting to know proper, like really connect. You know.
I hear what you're saying, but I still feel like it's a case of, probably that individual then just isn't the one for you, because you have to analyze and see that when you're talking about a relationship, because that is his personality. Let's not act like that's his personality. Personality is winning souls. That's his heartbeat.
That's what it's about.
So so if that's his heartbeat and that doesn't interest you, then
She's probably just not for you.
exactly.
Yeah, but as a Christian, should that not interest you? That's
It
where
should interest
that's
you.
where I'm now
It should.
getting a bit jiggy, because I'm like, wait, hold on. Like, what are we about? You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
Let me tell you
Because
something.
ministry is not like, we have several lives. We have the ministry life, we have the personal life, then we have this other kind of life. I thought we had one life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And if that's the case, then how is the person's life being purely based on this, not individualistic enough for you?
What I'm saying is
It's a no.
basically, yeah, it's not by force. It's not by force that you should like a guy just because he's spiritual. There's more to life. There's actually more. That God himself has a personality and a character. So why should I sit here
more
and
to
say,
us than
I
spiritual.
love you because you're all about winning souls, but
Yeah,
you
but-
don't show me your personality
But
and
you see,
character?
the mistake you made is you assume that because I said a guy is spiritual, that he doesn't have a
No.
character.
I didn't- you said
you assume that
you
because
came
I
with
said,
that good guy angle.
yeah, well, he's
And
a good guy.
That good guy angle is really that whole thing to say-
because good guys don't have characteristics. They don't have a personality.
I didn't say that they don't have
But
personality.
that's what you're insinuating.
I mean, since
I understand where you're both coming from. I understand
That's
where
what
you're
she's
coming
insinuating.
I'm insinuating it
That
because
good
of the
guys
angle
don't
you're
have
coming on. No,
a
it's not that
character.
good guys don't have
They have
characters.
personalities.
I'm coming from that angle to say it's not entitlement. There should be no entitlement to say, yes, I do this and I'm a good guy and this and that. The girl should love me. No.
Yeah.
If the guy is spiritual, very spiritual,
Mhm.
and he has a purpose, he knows where he's heading to. To be fair, not everyone's for him
It's
either.
true.
Yeah.
And such influences could kind of
Hinder.
Exactly.
Yes.
his destiny
yeah.
and purpose. So
That's it.
I've really, maybe my experience, I've really seen spiritual guys, because, for example, you talk about a spiritual guy who he's good looking and he's spiritual. Automatically,
No,
the
you see-
sisters
you see-
become spiritual.
Hold on.
It's the truth.
Well, with that good-looking brother who is spiritual,
Yes.
what did the ladies notice first?
Or these looks.
Chances
looks.
are they notice his looks. So, kind of going back to what she was saying, for a lot of women, it's about a lot more than your spiritual life and your commitment to Christ. It's
But,
about
you see,
When we search for a man who is going to be our husband, we need to, and there's a lot at stake here. Because you need to understand here, when you choose your husband, that's your master.
that's why this conversation is important, because
It is important.
people are making the wrong decisions in life.
No, not always.
They
I think
are.
If they're making the wrong decisions, they shouldn't be ready to. They're not even ready to get married.
If we go and do market research about this topic, right, in churches, I guarantee you, right, most of the reasons for the sisters' choices are carnal. I say sisters more so than men, because men, when we think about marriage, we think of it as a business deal, as a long-term business deal. That's how we think. For example, a guy may be promiscuous. He may be doing, he may be known for being everywhere with different women. But you'll be shocked that the woman that he marries doesn't look anything like.
Yes, I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, because when we are making lifetime decisions, we don't think based on what excites us now. We are thinking about, who do I want to build a home with? Who do I want to raise my children? So we think that way. So naturally, we don't make decisions based on carnal, so to speak, reasons. But with women, you find that most times the thing that stimulates their minds is more time kind of and that's women. But
All
then
of
No,
them.
no, no,
N-
no.
not
I have to
generalize.
say,
not all of
yeah.
them. No. Hear me out.
And also,
We
a
always-
spiritual
we-
woman
we always-
wouldn't make, carnal choices.
That's
There you
where I was coming to. It becomes more of an issue
Right.
when it's happening in the church.
For the longest time I was
Of
in
course.
church, I wasn't a Christian, let's be honest.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it could be that.
Yeah, but that's the point that I'm making. It comes down to your own spirituality.
Yeah.
It comes down to the spirituality of the masses.
Yeah, which goes back to Alex's point when he says not everyone is for you. If you're a good spiritual guy and the ladies don't want you, they're not for you.
What Paul said about the subject. He said, listen, I'd rather you didn't get married. He said, but if you got married, if you are married, he that is married and he that is not married should be focused on serving the Lord. And that's where the focus should be. So as we were talking about, if your focus is on serving the Lord, essentially you should be guided to the right path to find the right person who will also be serving the Lord, and you'll go on the right path. I think so. That's where I try to avoid all that, liking, not liking stuff. Because if you stay on that path of serving the Lord, at the right time, the right person will come. But because the focus is there and the focus hasn't been removed, that's what kind of will matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is about God and His word. It's not always what you want to hear. It's not always what looks most attractive. It's not always what looks most desirable. And I think that's a lot of things that I say sisters would have to accept at some points. The guy that you see before you, it might be the one for you, the perfect guy that you live a happily married life and you're working together for this vision that God has put you on. He could be that perfect guy, but he may not be presented the way you think he should look or you think that he should be. And at that moment, you have to decide, am I going to agree with what God has said concerning my life? Am I going to accept what God has said? Or am I going to say, nah, Lord, you need to, this needs to change, What are you going to do? Because I know that if God said to me, this is your man, and I looked at him and he wasn't pleasing to my eyes, I'd be like, not my will, but your will be done.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I would
100%.
definitely, because at the end of the day, what
You
is
too?
important?
Yes, 100%.
What is
Yeah.
very
Because I don't
important?
want to have to go the long way
No.
and then end up
And then
getting
end up
a
right
divorce
there.
and then come back again.
right
What's the
where I was
point?
meant to be.
What's the point?
Can I throw like a
Do you understand?
stone in the works?
Yeah.
What about the aspect of love then? Could you marry if the love
is a
wasn't there?
choice.
Yeah.
Love is a
Yeah,
choice.
and we know that
You
we
wake
say
up
that,
every
but
morning.
could you marry?
No, I could.
You could.
The thing is, you wake up every morning. Like,
It's
I'll
very
give you an
easy for
example.
women
Your
too.
friendships. Is it every time that your friends do things that are pleasing to you? Or you wake up and you choose to continue to love them regardless of what they do. That's the same thing with, whoever you decide to marry or whatever. It's your choice. You've made the choice. So now you've made the decision. Then, you have to love whoever it is you're with. That's how I
think
see
it's
it.
good, and for women, it's a lot easier to love. To be honest, I feel like
We're
for
full of
women,
love.
we're just naturally accommodating.
Yeah, different kinds of love, can't lie.
How are we sure it's the sisters that have the issue and not the brothers? I say this to say this because it's the brother that makes the choice or decision to actually speak to the sister. So how were you led to that sister in the first place?
That was the part B question.
Do you see what I mean? Like, did you look at her and think, oh, she's beautiful physically or whatever, and then you went to talk to her? Or did you see who she was spiritually? Did you speak to her like that? Do you know who do you see what I mean? Like, or did you just dive in and say, oh, she looks pleasing to the eyes and she's always in church, so she must be Christian?
I mean, a spiritual brother will probably have a spiritual reason for approaching me.
Are you sure about that?
That
Speak
is
for yourself.
A good guy is so entitled. He thinks, oh yeah, I do this and I'm
So
always
I
on
should-
this,
yeah.
and she should like me. I'm good for her. She'll be lucky to have a guy like me. He's so entitled. He thinks that all the women should be flocking to him because he does everything right. But that's not how this thing works.
How does
But
this thing work?
Who is a good guy?
Exactly, and we're generalizing, aren't we?
I'm saying that good.
No,
the
no,
term
'cause a
she
lot-
was referring to,
yeah.
that's only what she
Because a lot of the time people say I want to find a good guy
good
or
man.
a good woman, but a good man or a good woman
It's
is
subjective.
not necessarily going to make a good spouse.
That's it.
Right? So what we're looking for is not a good man or a good woman. We're looking for the right man or the right woman. And the right man or the right woman might not always look like it. Diamond doesn't start off looking like a diamond. Gold doesn't start off looking like gold.
Okay.
And a lot of the time, we want things on a silver platter. Do you know what I mean?
That good
But-
guy mentality.
Yeah. But men need to make sure that they are men before they decide that they want to get married. because you have a lot of boys getting married, and that's part of the reason why there are so many issues in marriages. It's not just the woman. Therefore, for this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father, not a boy. So first of all, if you want to get married, are you a man? Are you mature? Are you responsible? Are you independent? Can you provide, etc.? Do you have vision? Do you know who you are? Do you have purpose? Have you healed from the majority of your issues, which you're going to come and bring into this thing and affect somebody else's life, right? Because it's two lives coming together. So for me, there are so many levels and layers to this. And to say that it's kind of just women.
No, it's a two-way thing, but
It's
obviously-
highly men. It's highly men.
Alex,
I agree.
Alex, I think,
I agree with
I
you.
think,
It's highly men.
Yeah, because you're the
You're
ones
the
that
heads.
actually come up
You're the-
to
yeah.
us most times, especially in church.
All the
so
time you should
okay,
be approaching the
sorry,
woman that
sorry,
you want.
sorry. So
Yes.
the issue is the guy choosing to approach the wrong woman. Is that what you're saying?
That is the issue.
Yes,
That's what the problem
facts.
starts.
100.
So-
Know yourself, know your woman, and
The reason why the guy did not get accepted or given a chance by the woman is because he is approaching the wrong woman.
Yes.
So the Spirit of God should lead him to approach women who are attracted to his spirituality.
Exactly that.
That is it.
Exactly
That
that.
is
Even
it.
Alex
I agree with that.
agrees.
I agree.
It's simple,
That is
isn't it?
Talk.
It's
It's
simple.
not that hard.
So guys, well, this has been interesting. In wrapping up this one, I just want everyone to obviously conclude on the topic with what your perspective is. So we start from the lady with the fake name.
My name is legit.
Lady
Anyways,
to make it fake.
I feel like it's the man's responsibility in the sense that if they're the one actually speaking to this person in particular, it's your responsibility to actually know who this person is. You can't just go about, because you found the person in church, going up to them and being like, oh, hi, I like you. Like, where did that come from? You need to actually know who the person is. Is the person really spiritual? Are they a church who? Are they actually born again? There are multiple people in churches that aren't born again. I know for a fact, I was going to churches. Every time they're like, oh, you want to get born again? I walk up to the front, I'm born again this week. Next week, same thing. So imagine someone else walked up to me then thinking, oh my God, this spiritual woman, she's really spiritual at that time. I wasn't spiritual. That would be a wrong decision for that person. 100%. So I think we need to stop putting that responsibility on women in that sense. And men, you are the one, especially if you are the one actually walking up to the girl, that's your responsibility. That's on you. Wrong decision, that's on you. The end.
Agree.
So my perspective is that there's a responsibility on both the man and the woman. I think we all have a responsibility to work out our own salvations with fear and trembling rather than trying to work out somebody else's. However, that being said, there are various things that will attract different people. For some, it's the spiritual element. For others, somebody's hairdo might attract them first.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think the premise of how this started is, if two people are Christian or claim that they're Christian, why is it that I can be doing all the Christian-y things, but yet I'm not getting anything past second base, example? And I can't really answer that, and I can't really speak for everybody, but I think essentially everybody needs to search their own hearts, search their own motives. Why am I really interested in this person? Is this an emotional reaction, or am I actually making a spirit-led decision?
I just think people need to stop being so entitled. I think that's where, like you said, check your heart. Like, don't feel like just because you're doing all of this that person that your eyes are set on should like you, because it's not the case. It's the same thing as when you go out and make friends in the world. Not everyone's gonna like you, and you need to be able to be okay with that. There's a humility that you need to have when you're doing this certain thing. And this good guy thing, oh, I hate that saying so much. I dislike this good guy. I dislike this good guy phrase where I'm doing everything good and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, but the women are not aligning. I don't like that entitlement. And I think that's where the problem comes. You're feeling entitled that the women should be flooding just because you're doing this and the other. But there needs to be some wisdom to how you approach her. There needs to be some spiritual preparation between you and God about the motives, the intentions, and everything like that. So yeah.
I would say it's about your focus. If you're focused on the things of God, and that, essentially, it doesn't matter how long it's going to come to pass. You're going to get the right person for you. So I think it's about the focus.
At the end of the day, we're all attracted to different things. Sometimes you have to check what you're attracted to. Personally, what I do sometimes, I check myself. Why am I attracted to these kind of people? Because sometimes you're attracted to people that you should not be, because the thing that attracts you to them is something that is quite toxic, or an issue within you that has developed into something else. Do you get it? And then when that leads you, it leads you to people that you cannot really exist with in that on that level. You know, so a lot of people make mistakes because there's an error within their sense of attraction in the first place, and then that becomes a problem. So as an individual, whether man or woman or boy or girl or whatever, we need to make sure that, you know, we don't have such issues within us first and foremost, and that our affections are, you know, like you said, spirit led.
I really believe that what attracts you is what's going to sustain you. What attracts you in the first instance is what's going to sustain you. So a lot of people, like you're saying, need to check what they're attracted to, because you might be attracted to this thing today, but then in 5 years' time, that person no longer has that thing. So is your attraction now going to diminish?
Sometimes.
So you need to find something that's a lot more substantial. So sometimes you might be attracted to somebody because they've got a six-pack, or because they're tall and you like guys of height. Fine. But being people who are being people of God and people who are of the Spirit, we obviously need to look a little bit deeper, and that's where it comes to checking your motives. You know, why am I really attracted to this person? Is what I'm attracted to me? Is what I'm attracted to going to sustain me if I was to get married to this person for like 50 years? If it's not, then that person's probably not the one. So then you need to make more spirit focused and spirit led decisions, guided by the Spirit of God, guided by purpose, you know, and making decisions with your future in mind, as opposed to I like this person now, but that person may not be the same person in 20 years' time, because people change, and we're changing as well. So we need to accommodate for some of these things.
Definitely. And what I was going to say to the guys is, what you said really. If you approach someone and they clearly don't have that interest because of that reason, then they're short-sighted. Do you know what I'm saying? They're short-sighted. You know, maybe, you know, like I said, it's not.
Just not interested in you. Sorry, I just had to put that.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Maybe because it's not every spiritual person that you will end up with.
Yes.
There are many spiritual people that should be in the house of God anyway. So it doesn't mean that, you know, but if it's for that reason, and you know, then, you know, like you said, don't waste your time. Even if it's not, if you show interest in someone like that, and then, you know, unless somebody say God has told them, that's a very different conversation. Very different conversation. But the point is, if you focus on doing what God has told you to do, what I believe is when we are in God's perfect will, we find ourselves moving and getting to places that God has destined for us in the right timing. You understand? So in doing the work and doing God's will, when the time comes,
Seek you first.
He leads and guides you in such a way that you end up with the person that you should be with, because He leads you in a path that you meet the person, and then in the timing as well, because within that timing, the person too will be receptive. So on that note, thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It's been an interesting.
We need to do a part 2.
All right, until next time, keep watching The Table, and from us here, bye-bye.